Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 80, A Dose of Peculiar News. Komaeda Nagito and Natsume Soseki looked at each other, and for a moment neither of them thought to speak. After a long while, Komaeda Nagito finally opened his mouth hesitantly. Is there a chance that this person is not the Dostoevsky you're looking for? Natsume Soseki sighed. There is indeed that possibility, so for now. Before he could finish his words, Natsume Soseki suddenly reached into his pocket and took out his phone. It seems there's some news. Komaeda Nagito. Although he didn't know what the news was about, Komaeda Nagito could tell that Natsume-sensei was quite busy. Even though he had retired for many years, how was it that he still couldn't seem to get any rest? Seeing Komaeda Nagito's puzzled look, Natsume Soseki's heart was full of exasperation. Did people think that after retirement he didn't want to relax, enjoy his leisure time, and live a peaceful little life? He wished he could. Just after retiring, he had also enjoyed some easy days, becoming a cat basking in the sun, living comfortably, secretly observing, and quietly grading his disciples. Then the Dragon's Head conflict happened. The Dragon's Head conflict could be overlooked. At first everyone thought it was all because of that 500 billion inheritance, but after a year, the government discovered evidence showing there was something more sinister behind it. And that led to Demon Dostoevsky. Only when it came to this point, even Natsume Soseki was merely acting as an overly capable retiree, got called up just to serve as an advisor. Until he discovered Komaeda Nagito, and then, based on the after-effects of Komaeda Nagito's memory fusion, he came up with a plan. Such a far-reaching plan to hook a big fish was different from the tripartite framework. With the tripartite framework, he could find suitable individuals everywhere, take them as disciples, and then let go of them, leaving this arduous task to those who were responsible. But the fishing operation, involving Komaeda Nagito, his newly recruited young disciple, was different, and Natsume Soseki also had his suspicions about the government. In short, Natsume Soseki felt that he needed to personally oversee everything, with no way to let go. Consequently, he was dragged back by the government again. Even though they didn't pay him, it felt no different from being formally called back from retirement. Once the plan was on track, Natsume Soseki gave himself a long vacation, running off to teach his young disciple and feeling full of guilt. He had properly taught his previous two disciples, but by the time it was Komaeda Nagito's turn, he had become so busy that he felt he had somewhat neglected the young disciple, only being able to think of ways to compensate a bit more. If Mori Ogai knew what Natsume Soseki was thinking, he would have plenty to say. After Komaeda Nagito just got into an accident in the US, the missing for several years Natsume-sensei immediately sent him a letter. If that was called neglect, then Mori didn't know how to spell attention. Natsume-sensei's favoritism could practically tilt the world off its axis. And he was still feeling guilty. Still wanting to compensate. Couldn't he spare a thought for Mori? He wasn't asking for much, not demanding equal treatment to Komaeda Nagito, but at least to be treated similarly to Fukuzawa Yukichi. Just to receive a skilled business permit would be enough. However, Natsume Soseki wasn't a worm in Mori Ogai's stomach and couldn't know his thoughts. Besides, even if he did know, Natsume Soseki wouldn't easily agree to his demands. After all, the Port Mafia was still an organization that operated in the shadows. To expect the same treatment as the armed detective agency, Mori Ogai was simply dreaming. He should go get a bucket of ice water and cool down. In short, Natsume Soseki could have indeed enjoyed his retirement life, but because Komaeda Nagito had recently run into the Russian twice, all relevant parties had become tense, including Natsume Soseki. Naturally, he couldn't be as carefree as before. He had to stay in contact to stay on top of the latest intelligence. Right now, the message he was reading was the latest intelligence about the Russian. Under Komaeda Nagito's curious gaze, Natsume Soseki took a deep breath. It can be confirmed, this Russian is indeed Dostoevsky. How is it confirmed? Komaeda Nagito asked curiously. With a memory-related ability user. Natsume Soseki sighed. It's like us chatting now. If you don't completely renovate and change the entire floor, 10 years from now, he could walk into this room and know what happened. We collected some tiles from that building and sent them to the ability user for investigation. There was so much to analyze, so it took from yesterday until now to confirm. Komaeda Nagito suddenly understood, so there's such a powerful ability. It sounds very useful. The ability user Natsume Soseki referred to was actually Sakaguchi Ongo, who had fled from the Port Mafia and returned to the Special Division. However, there was no need to disclose this level of detail to Komaeda Nagito. Natsume Soseki responded casually, his expression looking a bit conflicted. Komaeda Nagito was puzzled. Sensei, is there something going on? Do you need my help? Natsume Soseki felt a headache coming on every time he heard Komaeda Nagito offer help. No, it's something else. Now that Dostoevsky's identity is confirmed, there is a new issue. Considering that Komaeda Nagito was the biggest contributor to this plan, and given that he had explicitly promised to protect him, but somehow, some segment of information had been leaked, causing the Russians to lock onto Komaeda Nagito. If he continued to keep Komaeda Nagito in the dark, Natsume Soseki felt that he was failing as a teacher. So Natsume Soseki continued, the hospital reports that Dostoevsky sustained a head injury and is now suffering from amnesia. Komaeda Nagito. Natsume Soseki sighed deeply. Don't you find it too much of a coincidence? Being someone of Natsume Soseki's standing, it was impossible for him to personally visit the hospital to see such a dangerous individual of unknown motives. So the photos and intelligence he'd just shown Komaeda Nagito were all provided by others. When Dostoevsky woke up, the first thing someone asked was about his identity, and the answer was amnesia. Frankly speaking, nobody really believed it, but his behavior was undeniably ordinary. The two suspicious points were that he was Russian and that he had a Russian copy of Crime and Punishment in his coat pocket. Because of these suspicions, Sakaguchi Ongo was being pushed to work overtime to see if anything useful could be uncovered, and Natsume Soseki had come to Komaeda Nagito to confirm a few things. Now, they finally had a conclusion, but there was no way to get any information out of Dostoevsky. Such as whether he had accomplices, how many people came to Japan, how many were in Yokohama, what they wanted to do. None of these questions could be answered due to his amnesia. They could only continue to have Sakaguchi Ongo work overtime to see if anything useful could be unearthed. No one dared to consider restoring his memory because Dostoevsky was not only notorious in Japan but also internationally wanted. Revealing too much about this matter could cause significant alarm, so instead of attempting to restore his memory and risking his escape, it seemed safer to leave it be. If he has amnesia? Komaeda Nagito asked, what happens next? Natsume Soseki took the opportunity to sit down and teach Komaeda Nagito. He will soon be handed over to the people from Masalt. Masalt? It's a European ability user prison. This prison itself is considered a national secret, but quite a few people know about it by now. Besides, it's not a secret of Japan, so you should just know about it and not talk about it. Natsume Soseki said, its location is also classified, and nobody has successfully escaped from it so far. It's considered one of the most secure prisons in the world. Given Dostoevsky's wanted status, not even Russia has any objections to sending him to Masalt. Komaeda Nagito nodded thoughtfully. So, does this mean Dostoevsky's case is over? No, he still has accomplices. Natsume Soseki said, we've sketched portraits to see if we can catch them, but if we can't, we'll see if his accomplices attempt a rescue. This information had also been obtained after Sakaguchi Ongo worked all night. Actually, it wasn't too hard to figure this out. To know that this amnesiac person was named Dostoevsky, it wasn't as though he himself stood in a basement speaking to the air, saying, I am Dostoevsky. Rather, his accomplices occasionally addressed him as Do-sama, master, and from this, Sakaguchi Ongo had been able to confirm his identity. Natsume Soseki was about to say something else when he suddenly stopped. Oda-kun, come in. A few seconds later, Komaeda Nagito's bedroom door was opened from the outside. Oda Sakanosuke stood at the door, holding a gun. After glancing at Natsume Soseki, he apologized expressionlessly, sorry, I might have misunderstood. He had heard Komaeda Nagito's voice along with an unfamiliar one, and considering the current sensitive situation, he was worried it might be an enemy. But now that he opened the door and saw Natsume Soseki-sensei, Oda Sakanosuke said, recognizing the man who had once given him a torn book ending, "I didn't expect it to be you." Natsume Soseki waved to Oda Sakanosuke, "Come in and sit." He had already thought about it. If Oda Sakanosuke found out, he wouldn't hide his acquaintance with Komaeda Nagito from him. That was why he felt comfortable visiting Komaeda Nagito's house with Oda Sakanosuke here. Oda Sakanosuke was someone he actually remembered quite well. Years ago, Oda Sakanosuke had gained some fame as an assassin, which had caught Natsume Soseki's attention as he passed by. Feeling intrigued, he ended up chatting with the young assassin and left him a book. Natsume Soseki had a habit of doing such things casually. Whenever he met someone with potential, he would lend a hand if possible. He treated his own disciples with a hands-off approach, and towards those he merely crossed paths with, he was content to nurture them briefly before moving on. Whether or not they flourished afterward wasn't his concern. After all, life is something one must sculpt for oneself, and he was just a passerby. Later, while observing Mori Ogai's disciple, Dazai Osamu, Oda Sakanosuke once again came into his view. Natsume was pleasantly surprised to find that Oda Sakanosuke had indeed given up killing and had even adopted several orphans who had lost their parents during the Dragon's Head conflict. Many so-called good people couldn't stop killing even after everything was over, but Oda Sakanosuke managed to. Natsume Soseki was glad to see Oda Sakanosuke persist in holding onto his principles, raising a family, and striving to write. Now, Oda Sakanosuke had even managed to support his family solely through his writing. Originally, Natsume Soseki hadn't known whether Oda Sakanosuke could write or not. He had only seen that the young man loved reading, and thought perhaps he could give it a try. So he encouraged Oda Sakanosuke to finish the book, and the outcome had turned out even better than Natsume Soseki had imagined. Not only had Oda Sakanosuke stopped killing, he had also taken up writing, won awards, and even provided for his family. It was an ending more perfect than Natsume Soseki had hoped for. But then, Mori Ogai had to show up and ruin the happy ending. Natsume Soseki looked like someone who roamed around in cat form and seemed to live without a care. But in reality, he was very busy, especially recently, to the point that he didn't need to elaborate. In short, when he finally found some free time to check on his unfortunate second disciple, he discovered that Mori Ogai had almost dragged Oda Sakanosuke into hell. Natsume Soseki felt a bit guilty towards Oda Sakanosuke. After all, he often visited Lupin and frequently saw Oda Sakanosuke together with Dazai Osamu, Komaeda Nagito, and Sakaguchi Ango. Human emotions are fickle, and seeing Oda Sakanosuke's progress in writing firsthand made him more important to Natsume Soseki than others who had simply received his fleeting guidance. Moreover, the person who plotted against Oda Sakanosuke was none other than Mori Ogai, one of his disciples, and the reason Oda Sakanosuke and his children ended up in danger stemmed from something Natsume Soseki had said impulsively. Natsume Soseki felt he should compensate Oda Sakanosuke somehow. His advice back then had been somewhat half-hearted. Most people in danger would choose to kill. It was even easier for a retired assassin to face danger, as the decision not to kill inherently carried risks. Fortunately, Oda Sakanosuke's enemies were all dead, so no one came looking for him. Otherwise, the bomb would have exploded a long time ago. After expressing his concern for Oda Sakanosuke, Natsume Soseki got to the point. If you run into any trouble with your writing, feel free to ask me. Don't worry about leaving the Port Mafia, you can leave whenever you want. If Mori Ogai comes looking for you, you can mention my name. Not killing is my own decision, it's not your fault, Natsume-sensei. Please don't worry too much, Oda Sakanosuke replied. However, your help is just what I need right now, and I'm very grateful. Under different circumstances, he might have refused, but these two offers of assistance were exactly what Oda Sakanosuke needed. It was just a pity that the stack of resignation letters he had copied hadn't been put to use yet. But knowing that he now had someone to turn to when he faced difficulties in writing, and that it was his favorite author, Oda Sakanosuke felt quite lucky. Pulling a promising seedling out of the port mafia's swamp, Natsume Soseki's mood improved a little. Afterward, he asked Oda Sakanosuke to write a resignation letter on the spot and hand it to him, telling him to wait for further news. Oda Sakanosuke wrote his resignation letter at Komaeda Nagito's desk while Natsume Soseki continued talking to Komaeda Nagito. In any case, this was all thanks to you. The house collapse ended well. Don't worry, no one died. The most seriously injured was him, and this time they directly pinpointed his location, gathering a lot of intelligence. Unfortunately, I can't commend you for this. But if you have any requests, feel free to ask, and this old man will do his best to fulfill them. Just as Natsume Soseki said, the harvest this time was indeed quite substantial. Sakaguchi Ango, working overtime through the night, finally organized all the gathered intelligence, including Dostoevsky's subsequent plans, accomplice names, and government insiders. The only information related to Komaeda Nagito, however, was how Dostoevsky had locked onto Komaeda Nagito in the first place. Master, Yakuran Gesso mentioned Komaeda Nagito. When Sakaguchi Ango heard Komaeda Nagito's name from Dostoevsky's accomplice, it was an indescribable shock. He almost choked on his own saliva. After all, Sakaguchi Ango had no idea about Komaeda Nagito's involvement in anything. Although he knew Komaeda Nagito was Natsume Soseki's disciple, he had always thought Komaeda Nagito was just an ordinary student, learning basic life lessons, nothing more. It wasn't until he was dragged into last night's overtime work that he learned Komaeda Nagito had sought out Mimic for Oda Sakanosuke's sake. Now, having used his ability to uncover the truth, Sakaguchi Ango couldn't help but light a candle for Dostoevsky. The city's gates caught fire, and the fish in the moat suffered. When Komaeda Nagito caused a landslide at Mimic's base, Dostoevsky's underground residence collapsed. What is this mess? With a few months left in the year, it seemed the title for the year's strangest news was practically decided. At least, in Sakaguchi Ango's mind, nothing could surpass this within the year. Finding that Komaeda Nagito was caught up in Dostoevsky's dangerous plans, Sakaguchi Ango pushed himself to the limit, working non-stop to handle the situation. He would even pass out if he closed his eyes for more than 10 seconds. Thanks to Yakuran Gesso's name, Natsume Soseki quickly located the leader of the Millefiori family back in Italy. Unfortunately, the distance made it impossible for him to take revenge for his young disciple, and the motive for targeting Komaeda Nagito remained unknown. He could only silently note it down in his little book, hoping for a chance to strike. Natsume Soseki didn't have to do anything, really. The Millefiori family's intelligence network was highly developed, almost unrecognizable as a newly established group. It was faster than many long-established mafia organizations, so not long after Dostoevsky was transferred to the Masalt prison for ability users in Japan, Yakuran Gesso received the news. Yakuran Gesso's cold sweat ran down instantly, especially when he inquired about how Dostoevsky was captured. He couldn't sit still. Oh, heavens! Dostoevsky, such a formidable figure, who even tricked several Yakurans into their deaths in parallel worlds, was now hospitalized due to a landslide-induced earthquake, even losing his memory. The intelligence also mentioned that there was Mimic in the mountains during the earthquake. And Mimic had recently attacked Komaeda Nagito's house. This was practically a giveaway. Komaeda Nagito must have been on the mountain during the landslide. If not, he wouldn't eat cotton candy for a year. Right now, Yakuran Gesso felt that the cotton candy in his mouth no longer tasted sweet. Think about it, even when Dostoevsky hadn't taken direct action, he still lost his memory. What would happen to someone like him, who had sold Komaeda Nagito out? All he had done was mention Komaeda Nagito's name to Dostoevsky, nothing else. Could that be judged more leniently? Yakuran Gesso, deeply shaken, reminisced a little about the movie Final Destination. He decisively made a phone call, booking a spot at a nursing home, wanting a setup similar to the one in Final Destination where the survivor's room had every possible safety measure. The walls and floors would be covered in foam, no electrical appliances could be used, and the best meal would be something he could eat with his hands, no knives or forks allowed. As for the Millefiori family matters, they would be temporarily handed over to Kikyo, until he could check on everything again later. After the phone call, Yakuran Gesso finally shook off that overwhelming sense of fear, eating a piece of cotton candy to calm himself down. Though he had memories of himself from the parallel world, ultimately he was still just a 14-year-old minor. Such unpredictable catastrophes, like the ones in Final Destination, were beyond what caution could prepare him for. With his own problems resolved, Yakuran Gesso found himself in the mood to think about other things, such as a certain doubt that had surfaced at this moment. Where was Dostoevsky's accomplice? Why hadn't they come to save him? It was understandable back in Japan, but not coming to rescue him in Masalt? Without Dostoevsky's own planning, it was a hellish difficulty. However, Yakuran Gesso couldn't ponder this question deeply. Because he choked on his cotton candy. A few coughs didn't manage to dislodge the cotton candy stuck in his windpipe, and in such a moment of panic, even his sky flame couldn't be put to use. While he still had some awareness left, Yakuran Gesso swept everything off the table onto the floor, hoping the noise would alert someone outside, and started performing the Heimlich maneuver on himself. Why did he have to act cool and put on a show like this? With the muffled sound and the soundproofing of his office, would anyone really hear him? Fortunately for Yakuran Gesso, fate wasn't ready to end him just yet. Just as he failed to rescue himself and fell onto the carpet, struggling to figure out his next move, his loyal subordinate Kikyo entered. Moreover, with sharp observation, Kikyo immediately realized that Yakuran Gesso was choking. He swiftly threw aside the documents in his hand and rushed forward, using the Heimlich maneuver to try and save him. Yakuran Gesso felt like his stomach was about to burst from the pressure when that piece of cotton candy finally came out. But due to prolonged lack of oxygen, Yakuran Gesso was left a little lightheaded and physically drained. With some rest, he would be able to recover. However, the ever-loyal Kikyo would not allow any risks. So, just like he had performed the Heimlich maneuver earlier, he decisively began to perform CPR. Suddenly regaining consciousness, Yakuran Gesso's eyes snapped open. He understood. This was not just a physical assault but a mental one as well. He only mentioned a name, this kind of harm was unnecessary. He would not accept. If there's anyone else plotting against Komai de Nagito, even if they do not achieve results on the level of Mimic or Dostoevsky, as long as they end up just as miserable as him, that's enough, otherwise, he wouldn't find peace. Chapter 80 End.